So, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode number 53. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about confidence. If there was one thing that people say that they want more of in life, it's confidence. So I've been running NLP, hypnosis and personal development seminars for over 20 years now. And this is by far and away the most common thing that people say that they lack. I don't have the confidence. If I only had the confidence, I'd be able to do the things I want to do. I've completely lost my confidence. Or the very dramatic, I'm having a crisis of confidence. These are some of the many comments I've heard frequently over the years. And one of the big mistakes that people often make when they talk about confidence is they view it as a single entity, when it is in fact multi-layered. So in this episode, I'm going to be outlining what I call the 4 layers of confidence. It's a model I created around about 7 years ago. It helps you better understand how this complex emotion works and how to make improvements in this crucial area of your life. So grab a cuppa or whatever you do when you're listening to your podcasts, and let's get started. Hey there and welcome to the Stress Less Living podcast. My name is Stephen Burns and I've been a practicing coach, trainer and hypnotherapist for 25 years. Each week I'll share easily digestible bite-sized ideas that you can immediately put into practice so that you can live a more harmonious and balanced life. Because life is challenging, but whatever we encounter, we always have a choice. We can take the easy routes or the hard routes, the low stress way or the high stress way. Well, the Stress Less Living podcast is about always looking for the easy routes in life, the low stress ways to accomplish your goals, get more of what you want, and ultimately live a happy and more effortless life. So if you're looking for the perfect antidote for the chaos of modern life, my friend, you are absolutely in the right place. So in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at what I call the 4 layers of confidence. As I said in the intro, confidence is not just a single entity, it's multi-layered. And if you make improvements in each of the layers I'm going to talk about here, then your confidence levels will be boosted dramatically and in a sustainable way as well. So personally, my relationship with confidence has always been a bit of a strange one. So in my early school life, I remember being a blissfully confident young boy. In fact, to tell you the truth, when I was in primary school, so from the ages of 5 to 11, I didn't even have a perception or a definition for confidence at all. I was simply just enjoying being. It just wasn't on my radar. And it was only really when I entered second year at high school, so we're talking ages 13, 14, that I started to experience a big drop in my levels of confidence. And all of a sudden, it became this massive priority. I mean, if you think about it, that age is a weird time anyway, isn't it? You're starting to turn into an adult, you've got hair growing in weird places, your voice is breaking, of course, if you're a man, and there's all sorts of weird new social rules that you've got to try and figure out. On top of that, at that time, I had also moved schools twice in the space of, I think it was about 4 or 5 months. So there was a fair amount of upheaval for me. And for a while, I really struggled with my levels of confidence. So I also developed a bit of a warped version of confidence. I used to see boys my age that were much more confident than me, clearly, striding about with their chest puffed out, trying to assert dominance through sheer physicality, size, and extroverted behaviour. So I thought that kind of bullish, jock-like behaviour was what confidence was all about. Since then, I've realised that's often actually the opposite. It's a sign of insecurity, but at the time, I didn't really know any better. So I really struggled for a number of years, and it wasn't until my late teens and early 20s when I discovered NLP, meditation, and self-hypnosis that I started to make some real progress. And that was when I realised that there's a lot more to confidence than what I first thought. So, like I said, we're going to be looking at what I consider to be the 4 different layers of confidence. And if you work on each of these layers, you're going to find yourself in a good place. So, let's get started. So layer number 1, confidence as an emotion, a feeling that we have influence over. So at the very surface level, you can look at confidence as an emotion, a set of feelings and sensations that we experience in our body. And this is usually the first thing that we notice. We become aware that we just don't feel right. Something just doesn't sit right. Something feels off. So maybe we go to a party and we don't know anyone, and it feels like, we're shrinking away into the corner. Our body starts to get tight and tense. Maybe our breathing changes, and we get a whole host of unpleasant sensations that are coursing through our body. And then later on, we might reflect back on that experience and we might label ourselves as having a lack of confidence in that situation. And I think everybody has had an experience like that. Well, the thing is, a lot of the time, people mistakenly think that we have no influence over these sensations that we experience, that we just have to leave them down to chance and maybe run away and hide if we're not feeling particularly great. But that's just not true. That by learning a few simple techniques, you can have considerable influence over the feelings, sensations, and emotions that you experience. You don't have complete control, but you can have influence over them. So if you want to make a difference in this layer, there is quite a lot to it, but I want to just give you a very quick couple of tips. So what you can do is you can explore what confidence would feel like for you. So I call this creating your own blueprint for confidence. So if you were to experience an amazing sense of confidence, what would that feel like? What sensations would you experience in your body? So for me, it's like there's an energy across my chest. It's like a warm buzz. And when I'm at my most confident, I feel that energy throughout my entire body. It's absolutely incredible. So what would it be like for you? And if you're finding that challenging to imagine, then to help, I recommend that you get your body involved so you can stand up and take on board the physiology of confidence. If you were to represent confidence in a body posture, what would that be like? And actually physically do it. So maybe you stand tall, you raise your heads, or you have larger movements. You can even start walking around the room with confident movement if you like. You might want to close the blinds in case your neighbours wonder what you're up to. But this can be a really powerful thing to practice because what we do with our body affects how we feel. It influences the sensations that we experience throughout it. What you can also do is, while you're parading confidently around your living room, you can cast your mind back to times in your life when you were confident and think about those times. Remind yourself of them. And when you do this, if you spend a bit of time in your imagination recalling these times, what that does is it helps rekindle those feelings and you start to flesh out that confidence blueprint. What you'll also be doing is anytime you do this exercise is you'll be creating neural pathways inside your brain that support that state of mind. So the more that you do it, the more you'll naturally feel that way. But ultimately what you're doing is you're working on this first layer, confidence as an emotion, a feeling that you have influence over. So that's layer number one. Layer number two is where you view confidence as a result of ability. So we're going a little bit deeper here. Layer number two is the confidence you get as a result of developing some kind of skill or ability. Because here's the thing, there will always be an element of confidence that you don't get by default. You're going to have to earn it. I remember when I was starting out as a coach many years ago, I was struggling with confidence during those first sessions I had with clients. And I talked about it with my coach. And he asked a question that made me stop in my tracks. He said, well, have you earned the right to be confident yet? You're just starting out, so maybe lack of confidence is a good thing for you. It's a sign that you need to work on developing your skills. And you know what? He was absolutely right. With a lot of things, we won't have confidence in the beginning. We gain confidence as we gain experience and develop skill sets. And this is especially relevant in the workplace or if we're learning some sort of new ability or, embarking on some sort of new venture. I mean, just think about it. Say, for example, you got a job as an airline pilot and on the first day, before you'd had any kind of training, you walked in confidently with your chest puffed out and said, I'm ready to fly a plane. Show me to the nearest jumbo jet. That's going to go horribly wrong and hopefully the supervisor will tell you where to go. So in that instance, you should have a lack of confidence. That's the right place to be. You'll eventually become a confident pilot after you go through a training program and you practice, but you don't get it in the beginning. You've not earned it yet. And I think this is a really important thing to remember. So many people have goals and dreams, they maybe have big plans, but they never get started because they don't think they have enough confidence to get going. But the thing is, in reality, whenever you start a new venture, you most likely won't have that confidence in the beginning. And that is perfectly okay. You'll build it up over time as you figure out what to do. So my advice for this layer is to remember that sometimes you have to exert some patience. Cut yourself some slack. If you're embarking on a new project or venture, then it's perfectly okay if you're not confident. That's the natural place to be. There will always be a learning curve and the confidence will come. You just got to get through that initial clunky, uncomfortable period. And the thing is, actually, if you're too cocky in the beginning, then that might come back to bite you on the ass. It's false confidence. So that's layer number 2, the confidence you get as a result of developing some kind of skill or ability. Then we move on to the third layer, and this is where we start to get to the deep stuff. So layer number 3 is confidence in your worth, sometimes also referred to as self-worth or self-esteem. So self-worth or self-esteem is a topic that gets talked about a lot, isn't it? And it's a big issue for many people. They just feel unworthy. They feel that they're not good enough. And this can have a huge detrimental effect on their levels of confidence and potentially their life in general. But what actually is self-worth? Because it's a bit of an abstract term, isn't it? And it's going to mean different things to different people. Well, when we get down to it, self-worth is not actually a thing per se. If you were to dissect a human being, I'm not exactly sure why you would want to do that, but if you did, then you wouldn't find a certain quantity of self-worth in there. There's not a part of the brain labelled self-worth. That's not how it works. It's a concept. It's a label. It's the term used to describe the amount of value that a person thinks they have. And people who describe themselves as having low self-worth or low self-esteem have usually bought into the idea that they just aren't that valuable as a human being, or that their value is less than other people around them. And this can often be a subconscious belief that they have, but it's still in there. Are you someone who struggles with work-life balance? You find it difficult to maintain harmony between career ambitions and your personal well-being. You're doing your best to balance demands and deadlines with the other important aspects of your life, but things like burnout, stress, and a nagging sense of guilt seem to forever lurk in the background. Well, one of the best first steps that you can do to create more balance is to do a full life audit. This is a powerful process that helps you highlight areas of your life that are a little bit out of sync that potentially need addressing so that you can be more in harmony. So if you want to do a life audit, then I have a free PDF that will take you through the entire thing. To get access to that, please check the show notes. You'll see a link and all the information you need. And this, of course, can fluctuate from situation to situation. For example, if you're around friends who support you, who love you and respect you, the perception you have of your value will most likely increase. You'll feel good about yourself, and your confidence levels will increase as a result. But if you're around people who put you down, constantly question who you are, your value and what you bring to the table, then you might start also questioning your own value, and this can have a negative effect on your self-worth. So, why is this important when it comes to confidence? Well, self-worth, or our inner sense of value, is responsible for our background confidence. So you know those types of people who you meet every now and again that just seem to have a quiet confidence. They're not brash, they don't boast, they're not what you would describe as overtly confident, but they just have this rock-solid sense of stability and groundedness. They seem to have this immense background confidence that's just there. Deep down, they know what they bring to the table and they don't have to try to prove themselves. With people like this, they have a solid and visceral sense of their value. They know their own worth and they don't have to convince themselves or anyone else of it. So that's what having a high amount of self-worth leads to. It creates to a quiet but solid and consistent level of confidence. And when people lack that connection with their inner worth and value, often their levels of confidence are just all over the place. Some days they feel great, others not so much. And they also often react badly to setbacks too, because they see it as further proof that they're just simply not good enough. So if you want to develop a much more solid, consistent, and sustainable level of confidence, then you want to work at raising your self-worth. Spend some time connecting with your value so that you have a strong, visceral inner sense of it. That will make an unbelievable difference. So if you want a little exercise to do that, one thing I like to do is to play a game that I call I'm Valuable Because. It sounds a weird game, so let me explain. So what you do is you spend a few moments relaxing, so just take a few minutes getting into the moment, take a few deep breaths, you can do some breathing exercises if you want, just bring yourself into the here and now. And then you want to sit back and say to yourself the following statement. So you want to say, I am valuable because. And then you let your mind fill in the gap, add in something after the because. Now you can tweak that statement if you like. You can change it to, I am good enough because. And then again, let your mind fill in the gap. So you might come out with things like, I am good enough because I am a human being, or I am good enough because I have so many great skills and personality traits, or I am valuable because I bring so much to the table. And you want to then repeat that statement and fill in the gap at least 10 times and just see where it takes your mind, see where it takes your experience. And this is such a powerful exercise. Now, the key to doing this well is to do it, first of all, when you're relaxed, and also don't analyse or try to figure out the right answers. Let them present themselves. Allow the statement to affect your inner experience and then just get a felt sense of the answer. That's the way to do it really powerfully. And what this does is it helps you connect with the value that you possess right now. The vast majority of people have more than enough value to experience high self-worth. They're just not connecting with it. They're taking it for granted. So this is a way to create that solid connection. So that's layer number 3. And finally, layer number 4 is social confidence. So as a human being, we are intensely social creatures. In fact, evolutionary biologists believe that one of the main reasons we are the dominant species on the planet is because of our ability to relate through social communication, to create these intricate communication networks. Also, part of the success we achieve in life will be impacted by the relationships we form with other people, how we interact with our peers and networks, and the reputations that we hold with them. Success is rarely about being a lone wolf. It's about establishing long-term, productive, and mutually beneficial relationships. So it makes total sense, right, that how confident we feel will contain a strong social element to it. So social confidence for me is made up of a few different things. It's a bit of a combo. So first of all, awareness, being able to read social cues and know what they mean. Some people are incredible at that. Others are absolutely terrible. I remember I was working with a guy in the oil and gas industry many years ago, and he was a super bright, intelligent guy, really nice person, but he just could not read the room at all. It was just crazy. And it was making his life way harder than what it needed to be. And you could tell he wasn't that confident when he had to interact because he didn't have that social awareness. So awareness like this is really important and we can all improve. Some people have neurological advantages, of course, they're more empathic, they have more mirror neurons, whereas others need to work a lot harder. But at the end of the day, we can all improve through practice. The second aspect of social confidence is social skill and experience. So this ties in nicely with the second layer of confidence, the type we get as a result of developing a skill or ability. Being able to talk to people is a skill, and some people aren't that good at it. They need to work at it and develop that skill. Again, though, we can all improve, and the higher our social skills, the more social confidence we'll have. And this is especially powerful when you get to the stage where you can communicate and connect with lots of different types of people from many different cultures. So I mentioned this many times in other episodes that I do Latin dancing. I usually make a point to mention it at least once in every episode. And one of the things I love about the dance community is that it's so international. So I get to meet and talk and dance and interact with all different types of people from different countries and cultures. So it's massively improved my ability to relate to different types of people. And this has naturally raised my levels of social confidence. There's very few situations now where I wouldn't at least know something to say. So the tip I would give you to improve this layer is to just get out there and speak to people, socialise and network a bit more, and speak to different types of people too. Don't just stick with those that you feel comfortable with. Step outside your comfort zone. The learning you will get from this will be incredible. Be curious about people. Ask questions to find out more about what makes them tick. People are fascinating, and the more you discover, the more your communication skills will improve, and the higher your levels of social confidence will be. So there we have it, the 4 layers of confidence. As I mentioned, confidence is not a single entity, it's multi-layered. And if you work at improving each of these layers, then eventually you're going to be in a very good place. So let's do a very quick review. Layer number 1, confidence as an emotion or a feeling that you have influence over. We often think that we don't have any influence over our feelings. That's not necessarily the case. In fact, it's definitely not the case. And you can create these emotional blueprints. You can create your own version of confidence, and the more that you cultivate this, the more likely it's going to become part of your day-to-day experience. Layer number 2, confidence as a result of developing a skill. Some confidence has to be earned. Maybe you're not at the stage where you should be confident. Maybe you have to develop some kind of skill or ability in order to get that feeling that you really know what you're doing. Layer number 3, confidence in your worth. This is where we go a little bit deeper. When you have a strong connection of your inner value, what you bring to the table, your self-worth, then that gives you that quiet confidence, that type that's in the background, that gives you that solid sense of stable confidence and self-belief. And layer number 4, social confidence. We are intensely social creatures, so there's always going to be an element of this. And the more that you get out there and speak to people, especially different types of people from different cultures, the more you'll develop that skill, your awareness will increase, and eventually you'll get to the stage where you feel like you can handle most social situations comfortably. So that is us for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in learning more about these 4 layers, then I do have an online course. It's on the platform Udemy, so you'll be able to get that course at a pretty ridiculous, no-brainer, low price. I'll include a link to it in the show notes if you want to check that out. I go into these 4 layers in much more depth. So thank you once again for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, if you could like or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and if you could also consider leaving a review, it really does help. So enjoy whatever you're doing for the rest of the week, and I'll speak to you in the next episode.